everybody, to the $9,000 handshake. What a new hire really costs your business. I'm going to do some quick introductions and give everybody a few minutes just to filter in. But my name is Ryan Tagg. You may have seen me host some of these before, but I've been with Dominion Payroll 8 years and done a lot of different roles. So I'm always happy to help with questions, but I'm also joined by Melissa Rumley and Ali Hockman. They are HR recruiter and HR advisor with Dominion Payroll. I want to welcome them and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do here. Melissa, you can start with you.
Sure. Hi, I am Melissa Rumley. I am the HR recruiter here at Dominion Payroll. I've been here about 2.5 months, give or take, and loving every minute of it. I'll be kind of walking you guys through the $9,000 handshake, explaining what goes into that, and we'll get into it in just a few minutes.
Thank you. Ali?
Hi, y'all. I'm Allie. I've been with Dominion Payroll here in Richmond about 6 months or so, and I'm part of the DP Boost HR team. So we provide a dedicated HR expert for your team if that's a service you choose to enroll in. But loving it here and eager to see what Melissa has in store with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you both very much. And just to
Yeah.
quickly give an overview of the purpose of this webinar, right? And it's kind of shocking when you think about salaries, right? Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, but I had a great LinkedIn post about this when I first started at Dominion Payroll. I didn't realize total compensation, like what it really costs to employ someone. It's kind of shocking. I came into this role thinking, hey, you get a salary, that's what the business paid. As I learned more and gained experience, it's actually quite a bit more than that. We also have some solutions if you have a ton of different responsibilities, or maybe thinking about hiring somebody, or in lieu of hiring somebody that maybe you want to outsource. But Melissa's going to go into the details of the cost of those businesses more. She knows a lot more than I do, right? So she can go through the details of that. And Melissa, I'll kind of let you take it away.
All righty. So welcome. So we called it the $9,000 handshake. Of course, that number could have really been anywhere from probably $6,000 to $12,000 and upwards, depending on what position you're hiring for. But we'll jump into it a little bit. All righty. So most people don't realize that once you even begin to start the process of hiring, there are costs that are involved before you even make an offer. Some of those costs start with your sourcing and your recruiting. So part of my salary goes into that, right? The interview itself, if I'm doing a screening and then the interview is going to next be with the hiring manager, and then the next interview might be with the director. They may decide to do a panel interview after that. So any of those people that are involved in interviewing, those are all additional costs. That's taking them away from their productivity. Anything assessments, background checks. Background checks are so expensive. I cannot even begin to describe. And I would say every industry is going to require different backgrounds depending on what your business is, and that can get pretty costly. Your offer and negotiation, of course, comes with that salary. So the numbers that we're talking about today are based on a $70,000 HR salary. So you would typically think like an HR generalist coming in, has knowledge, has experience, but may not necessarily be able to run every aspect of HR. With that being said, whoever is part of the offer and negotiation process, ching ching, there's more money. And then finally, admin and processing. So whoever gets the duty of adding them into the system and benefits and all of that good stuff, ching ching, there's more money. So that alone gets you to your $9,000. I will move on to our next slide. We want to next take into consideration the time that it takes to get them up and running. Those first few months is minimal productivity as they're getting onboarding. They might be doing shadowing and training. They might have learning management system training. So it is a very slow ramp up. They're 99% of the times they're having all sorts of meetings, trying to get acquainted with the team, Those are all costly for every person that they meet. They're taking away both their productivity as well as someone else's. Now, you can certainly count it as having value, but from a monetary perspective, it's definitely costing money. So that's what this ramp up curve shows over 6 months. So they slowly get ramped up. And within that is a hidden 30 to 50%, which is another $21,000 to $35,000 aside from that 9 and aside from that original 70 that you offered them. So it gets pretty costly. Alrighty. So our HR costs don't stop after hiring either. So you're paying before the person comes in the door, and you're paying while they're there, and certainly all the way through, and ongoing development, training, anything that you can think of once they're up and running. We have, especially for an HR position, 9 out of 10 times we'd like them to be SHRM certified. Some people come in with that certification, some people don't. There are costs that are that go along with having that SHRM certification. There's all sorts of updated training and learnings for HR protocols and legislation that they need to keep up with. And then we, of course, have tons of tools and resources that we allow our team to be able to access to try to stay up to. But still in all, it costs money to have that system for them to be able to access those tools and resources. That would add up another 5 to 10%, y'all. So there goes another 3,500 to 7,000 on a 70K base. All right, the last true year one cost. So for compensation and benefits, it's showing us 130%, with 25 to 35% being the benefit. So it's taking into consideration that $70,000 base. So that'll take you to 91K. For the recruiting efforts, sourcing, job ads, interviewing, assessments, background checks, all of those separate costs is another 20%. You could add another 14K. Onboarding, manager time, system management, compliance, training, all of that is going to be another 10%. And then your training and ramp up costs, like we had already discussed. So from 0 to 6 months, it's a slow uptick for their productivity. That's another 30 to 50%. And then ongoing development, right? So we want to make sure that once we have them, we're able to keep them, and we're making sure that, you know, they have goals, and we're able to provide training and all of the resources that they need to be successful. And that's going to be another 5 to 10%, totaling us 195 to 220%. A
Hey, Melissa,
70,000.
sorry to interrupt you. If I'm
Yeah.
reading this correctly, the first year costs are double the salary. Am I looking at this correctly?
Mhm.
Wow. All right. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to,
Yeah.
that seems high to me, but yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Wow, that's crazy. Thank you.
Yeah, it takes everything into consideration. Yep. So down here, the 136 to 154 is taking all of that into consideration on top of the 70 grand that you've been paying just as salary. So it's pretty wild. And now, granted, these are the numbers are fluid because they're based on the salary that you bring in or the systems that you have in place. So it's all very round numbers, but you can definitely expect to pay well over 150% to get someone onboarding and up and running. But that does come with risks as well in the HR world. So I'm just going to jump in briefly about some of the risks of knowledge that we see. From an HR perspective, some, like I said, some people will come in with a SHRM certification, which means that they pass the test, they have all of the knowledge, awesome, great. They still need to keep up with ongoing CEUs. When you're hiring someone like an HR generalist, they may or may not have that knowledge. Whereas if you are working with our Boost team, you know you have that knowledge and you have a ton of background knowledge. We have all of the resources to pool, right? Whereas when you're hiring just one person, you're getting that one person's knowledge, and we're hoping that they have what it takes to be able to handle everything. So it could be a little bit scary, but there's ways to help, there's ways to fix it. But certainly a couple different impacts. There's a financial impact, fines, litigations, rework, inefficiencies, operational, people impact, and definitely strategic impact on scalability and slow business growth. We do have options for you. You want to take our
Yeah,
options?
absolutely. So, sorry, it took me a second to
No.
unmute there. I was scrambling. I got a little clammy. Yeah, so we do have options, and we try to be flexible. We're talking specifically about HR, but this really applies to a lot of different positions related to payroll as well, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we're listing here. So DP Complete, that is a brand new product that we started to offer. That would essentially, I like to say, replace 75% of the work associated with HR and payroll, right? And where do I come up with that number? I think 25% gets knocked off because we're not going to communicate directly with the employees. That's a big part. That's really the biggest thing that we don't do, right? Is we just don't have the bandwidth to communicate with every single employee. We're working for you, the business, we're your advocate. And Allie specifically is your advocate, right? Allie and her team are part of the support that we offer. I saw Allie on mute, so maybe she can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So with my team, DP Boost specifically, we're going to basically be an extension of your team. So this is definitely a service that we recommend for maybe an HR team of one or an HR team that is maybe a little less experienced, or if you don't have any HR folks on staff at all. We typically work with ownership, leadership, management to provide that support to make sure that you're aware of any risks that may come up, and to sort of proactively engage with the business and try to identify those HR gaps and then help you fill those in to prevent any sort of, issues down the road, whether it's litigation or fines, penalties, anything like that. We're going to be looking at the overall strategic picture, and creating a plan for you. And so that's something that we're really excited about because we are always accessible to you and your team, to provide that sort of expertise, especially if it's something that you don't have and you don't have the capital to invest in hiring that person.
Exactly. So very, very well stated. This is also these services. I worry sometimes that when I position these, that people are going to think, "Hey, we're out to like take someone's job." That is not the intention or the purpose, right? I mentioned this at the beginning, and Melissa touched on it, right? It's generally used to either supplement somebody that has too many responsibilities. I can't tell you how many times during the week I have this conversation. I ask, well, questions I ask is like, "What are you responsible for?" And people can't answer just because there's so many different things that they're doing, right? It's they have too many answers. And it's meant to supplement organizations like that where maybe they're not at the point where they need to go out and hire someone, but they need help. They need to feel like they're in a good place, particularly from an HR perspective, but also from a payroll perspective. What's more important than getting people paid? Right? Maybe HR. I don't know. No, definitely not. Getting paid is probably the most important thing. Definitely. So we can help in both those areas. And it's also not intended necessarily to be, hopefully my boss isn't on the webinar, but a long-term permanent solution. We want to get you in a position where you feel confident that payroll is set up the way that you want it to be set up. HR compliance is in a good place. You can feel confident. It's an ever-changing landscape, so you're going to have to stay up with things. But generally speaking, at the end of the year, you're going to be like, we're in a good spot. Allie and her team did a wonderful job. They identified any areas of risk that we may have, and they solved those problems, and they gave us suggestions into the future. So we're trying to provide a stable base. That way, if you want to hire somebody, bring them on, take in on additional responsibilities, great. We've gotten you where we want you to be. I can tell you it doesn't happen to. It's a third of the cost of a full-time employee, so it's a very cost-effective solution. A lot of people stick with it, but that's, again, not our goal, and that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting put you in a good spot and then give you options. Any questions? I love to ramble, so I like to pause for questions if anybody has anything. While I'm waiting on people, I thought it was so shocking, the ramp time in particular. And based on what I was just describing, putting yourself in a good position, that includes having good processes in place, right? So think about it, either from HR or payroll. If I have all my steps in place, one of the things that we provide is documenting exactly what we're doing. We do that for two reasons. Well, actually, I'll ask my panelists. Melissa, Allie, why do you think we document step by step everything that we do? Who's going to unmute first? Ooh, Melissa.
Documentation is everything. If you don't document it, it didn't happen.
If you don't document it, it didn't happen, right? And also, people don't know how to do anything if you don't document it, right? If somebody comes in, they're brand new, how are they going to know how to do stuff, right? So that ramp time, that 30% cost of ramp time can be reduced drastically by putting step-by-step processes in place. So think about it. For us, what we do, and you can see some of the, I'm allowing you time to read all the things that we do because it's a long list. But imagine you hire somebody at the end of the year, you're like, Ryan, you're right. I don't want to work with Dominion Payroll anymore. I want to hire somebody to come in and do this. Great, good, awesome. You have an exact outline of how to do that job. Do you think that's going to reduce that ramp time, that 30% that Melissa outlined? Of course, right? You can feel confident that that job and the responsibilities associated with it and how to complete those responsibilities is outlined in a way that is simple, easy to understand. So, I like, maybe this is a sales guy in me coming out, but this really can be a cost saving measure, not just for the time period that you're working for us, but after you hire someone, reducing the costs for training and for lack of productivity. So to kind of go through the options that we have now, right? We have VP Core, which is kind of a basic solution, right? I just need HR help. I want guidance. I want reliable help. ChatGPT, all these AI tools are great, but they don't necessarily cover the compliance piece. And then as we get into the more advanced versions, Allie, maybe you can kind of walk us through DP Plus and HR and kind of what's included with those, because like ChatGPT, I could be unreliable from an HR perspective. Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah, so DP Plus is going to give you a dedicated HR consultant, but they're going to be responding in a more reactive manner. It's on the client to reach out and ask for assistance with what they need. They are going to look at, they can do background checks for you. They can basically enroll your employees in a compliance track. They're going to look at some of your current processes, basically looking at your handbook, labor notice postings. They may audit your I-9s. They may look at your job descriptions. And so they'll provide some deliverables, but they're really going to rely on the client to kind of drive the path forward. Whereas Boost, as I mentioned earlier, we're more of a proactive solution. So at the beginning of our relationship, we're going to sit down, we're going to do a total HR assessment of all your practices, and we're going to try to identify any gaps there and come up with a plan collaboratively to figure out where we're going for the year. And all along, as we're working on the projects that we decide are the top priorities for you and your business, will also be available to you, for any employee issues that come up, any sort of things that you're concerned about, any new laws you have questions on. We're going to be reaching out to you to let you know when there are law changes, things like that. And we're going to be there to make suggestions to really ensure that you have what you need to ensure compliance, and also make sure that you are, taking care of your employees and that they're doing the right things, and that you are, basically in compliance as you need to be.
Great. And a couple items that I want to point out with both the Plus and the Boost HR solutions, both of them, they both come with a compliance track of 24 training courses. Okay, so when you think about training, I'm sure Melissa and Allie can give me some examples of courses that people should be providing to their employees, trainings that they should be providing from a compliance perspective.
Annual harassment training and discrimination training is one of the biggest trainings that we have provided to clients. And it is very important to review on an annual basis as new hires kind of come on and people turn over. This is something where we see a lot of exposure for companies, and by ensuring that your employees have training can really help you down the road.
Yeah, and right now, so you think New York, California both require a form of digital sexual harassment training. Also active workplace shooter training. Colorado kind of requires it. I know it's a little bit of a gray area, but that really highlights one of the important purposes of these services is staying on top of laws as they change. They can change very quickly, and not to get into politics, but it is very tied to the political structure of that state. So it can change through election cycles as well. Putting yourself and being proactive on these courses is really important. We also have a tool, so full-fledged learning management system with 110,000 courses to select from. I know it's shocking, not everybody needs 110,000 courses. So that's why we've offered a compliance track which really checks off the important boxes related to training. Think sexual harassment training, HIPAA, active workplace shooter, like I mentioned, are just a few examples that are included with that. We can also track all the trainings right within the platform. Melissa, as you were initially going through your presentation, I saw like certifications listed, trainings. Just if we have any clients on the webinar, our basic solution, right, it's included with your package, the ability to track those things if you're processing payroll with us. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about that, if you're not doing it already. Any other questions from anybody? A lot of information here. I know we're coming up kind of on time, but we also have a couple more services I want to discuss. DP Assist, that's the payroll side. That's in a lot of ways a little less easy to talk about, like what we do and how we help our clients, because it changes depending on the client, depending on what their processes are, depending on what their responsibilities they want us to take over, what they've listed out there. You see some examples listed of how we help minimizing payroll errors. Pretty obvious why that would be important. It is a cost-effective solution. I touched on how I like to ballpark that pricing. Again, it really depends on what you need help with, but about a third of the cost of a full-time employee. If you're think 50 and over employees as your count there. This streamlined single platform, right? That sounds real great, but what does that actually mean? It means that things like I mentioned, like training, certificate tracking, onboarding, offboarding, all these tools we offer natively within the platform. And because of our expertise working within the software, we can very easily implement those solutions for you. We can either do it on your behalf, or we can train you on how to do it yourself the right way. Freeing up time, I already touched on the fact that people have multiple responsibilities. But the biggest thing with DP Assist, the question that I always ask is, what don't you want to do? All right. That doesn't mean we can do everything. I wish we could. I'm in sales. I would love to say that we could do absolutely everything, but we can't. It is very important for us to discuss what those responsibilities are in a very clear, concise way so that the scope of work is understood on both sides. When we set that up initially, we outline everything that we'll be taking a responsibility for and everything that you'll still be responsible for. That doesn't necessarily mean it can't change in the future, over the course of that year. It would just need to be a conversation. And that's so that we can provide a reliable service to you that you feel confident in, especially with payroll being so important. I keep pausing if anybody has any questions. Melissa, Allie, do you have any questions about payroll? I know you're on the recruiting and HR side. Any questions about DP Assist or like our payroll solutions? All right. Well, I'll give everybody just a couple more minutes for questions. Otherwise, we have DP Assist as a solution. DP Complete is really intended for smaller businesses. So think if you have 35 employees or less, 50 or less, that combines both our HR solution and our payroll solution to solve really both those responsibilities. I mean, imagine filling two different jobs with one service, right? Which is really how it's intended to work. But we do have Assist and Boost would be our full outsourcing solutions. And if you need help with both and you want somebody to call, right? You want somebody to talk to, you need that compliance track. Those can be a big help. Well, I haven't seen any other questions. Melissa, Allie, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I don't think so. If we just want to mention the next webinar, I would say.
Great.
Other than that.
Perfect. So the next webinar we're going to have is called June 18th. It is building a hiring process that works. This series that we're going to be doing over the next 4 to 5 months is going to be focused on the difficulties in hiring, filling positions. It's tough. And Melissa, you did a really great job highlighting how much that truly costs. It's like shocking to see that. So that'll be on June 18th at 11 o'clock. Hey, look, it's me again. And it's Melissa and Allie right down at the bottom. You can reach out to us if you have any questions, you need help with anything. For me in particular, I've like I said, I've worked for the company for a long time. I work on the sales team, but my goal is always just to help make sure you're aware of all the services that we offer if and when you're ready to use them. So if you have questions about the existing platform, what's on there, right? What don't I know that we have? Please reach out directly to me or any of us. I'm happy to hop on a quick call and just run you through the basics. Or if you have questions about advanced tools, please let me know. We kind of have basic and advanced versions of a lot of our solutions, just depending on where you are as an organization. We try to fit your needs. So with that said, I really appreciate everybody's time. Melissa, Allie, thank you so much for joining, and hope to see you all at the next webinar.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone. Great meeting you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.